Hello everyone, and welcome to a slightly different video than we might be normal to. So yes, the carrier rework has been announced, and the first details have been publicly released. Hooray! Why aren't you more angry, or why aren't you making a video immediately? Well, I'll tell you why. This is my Bavarian hunting hound, Evie. New puppy, so it's kind of taking up all my time, but I figured, hey, there's a lot going on with carriers right now. Let's address the issue. So we're going to make two videos. The first video will be a critique of WarGaming and why they kind of suck with regards to carrier mains and how they're more or less being told your gameplay will end. And then part two is constructive feedback, and that will be in the second video, and that will be feedback on the new system that's in play and the general improvements that need to happen to make it much more enjoyable experience, at least from my point of view as a carrier main. So let's go back to point one. Here we have, oh sorry, camera's on the way around. Here we have over here, Super Test Aircraft Carrier new gameplay. Dear players, we would like to share with you the first details. Okay, great, fantastic, let's go with it. Reasons and goals of changes. Aircraft carriers in World of Warships were always different from any other class because of their specific game control. It was needed to bring diversity to the game to highlight their unique role in battle and real life. So they're basically saying the three main classes, destroyers, cruisers and battleships, were action based, and the aircraft carriers were real-time strategy based, known as RTS, right? Now they have said here, as we continue to read over here, that over time, it has become clear that their exceptional role causes several issues, such as high difficulty in mastering, and because of that, an excessive gap between experienced players and beginners who may be excluded from a battle without a chance to do anything about it. As a result, low class popularity and no stable presence in battles. Now let's go back to the first point here. High difficulty in mastering. Well, you didn't make a tutorial, WarGaming. You might have had, oh, click this here or do that there, but at no point did you do a video series, did you do a tutorial, did you even educate people on all the functionality of your ship and your class in game. You've relied on third-party people like myself to make a guide explaining all the different nuances. Not everyone's going to come watch my channel or some other people, and there isn't like an in-game tutorial or in-game step-by-step, this is how you play carriers quest line, if you want a lack of a better term. That's really your fault. The mastering it is because there are no instructions out there telling people how to play. They have to sort of fumble along and play against it. That's your fault. And in the grand scheme of things, is it better to make better guides and better tutorials or better go? Well, probably no, that sale is probably sailed and past. So, yeah. Okay. Second point, as a result, low class popularity. Well, that's right. If people don't play very well, if they don't enjoy it, or particularly some people play it so much that they're so good at it, yes, they're going to scare away new players. So that's fair. But again, it goes back to the first point, class acceptance, adoption, and understanding. Anyway, we move on. Nevertheless, there was an excessive impact on a battle because of several reasons. Possibility of scouting using several squadrons interfering with destroyers. That's true. Detecting the enemy team and actually blocking initiatives and unexpected maneuvers. Again, that is also true. To a degree, to weaker ships. So if you're talking like very light armored, anti-air armored shimikazes, which I know Sub-Octavian talked about in his video, that is a true point. That is a valid issue to talk about and how to balance. And the new anti-aircraft mechanics are actually pretty darn cool. A volume of flak that goes up that involves the microing of your planes to dodge that flak until you're getting closer in a health pool. These are some cool solutions to the overspotting that carriers can do, especially when they get into higher tiers because they have multiple plane waves. Shh, she's sleeping. But ultimately, that's an accepted problem, but to do a complete overhaul of it? Maybe, maybe not. I'm kind of leaning no, but fair enough. And the possibility of dealing critical damage to almost any target on a short period of time, especially on high levels. Now this is especially your fault, WarGaming. You are guilty of introducing AP bombs. and then you are guilty of being incompetent in the balancing of AP bombs. I don't care what excuse you come up with and other type of things. You introduced a bomb that was designed for anti-capital ships, doesn't work against most targets, but does, for example, against German battleships. Then you make it at tier 10, you don't change the bomb mechanics for the American AP bombs, so that as you go from tier 8, where they work kind of good at tier 8, but especially against Germans, to tier 9 and 10, specifically in tier 10, it doesn't work on battleships, but now it works on all cruisers. It's your fault that a Worcester or a Des Moines or a Zao or, you know, those type of ships get completely deleted by one bomb strike without a defensive fire panic. That's your fault. That's not the carrier or the people who's playing. That's your fault. That's your inability to balance your own game and your inability to balance your own bombs. Now, if you're telling me that let's sack the whole system and go with a rework of the action gameplay because of that, okay, fine. Torpedo bombers, you can argue that a very skilled person can lay 12 torpedo bombers and does quite a lot of damage. They do, yes, but you have to take consideration the turnaround time. You are basically takes 3-5 minutes to take a plane wave off to get to target, to position on the target, to attack the target. And I understand people don't like massive amounts of alpha damage unless they do something silly like sail broadsides against Yamato and they then got massive citadel or struck, and it can be very frustrating as a ship who in comes torpedo bombers and you can't do anything about them, but you can always dodge, you can also maneuver. I tell you what, some instructions or tutorials or just basic, when you are attacked by an aircraft carrier, these are the ways he's going to attack you for maximum efficiency, and these are the maneuvers you can do to mitigate damage, let alone use team play and working with other people. Does this mean that you have to throw the whole CV system out and start afresh? I don't know. I can understand where they're coming from, where you've got one big squadron and then wings break off and do attacks, and that's kind of cool from an action point of view, but it doesn't merit redoing the entire RTS gameplay. I would say no, but then again, I'm obviously biased because I like my current gameplay as it is, and I'm going to lose a lot with this current change. Anyway, shall we move on a little bit further? The combination of aircraft carriers, go over here, features and AA defense working mechanics resulted in a situation where it's impossible to shoot airplanes down. For example, average destroyer chased by a squadron. Well, that's 2, but the destroyer is the most maneuverable ship. And eventually there's a pity timer that starts killing planes. You can increase the pity timer so that after a while the planes will die faster, and that can be like an anti-scouting thing. And you can, or you can increase health pools to planes, so it's not like an all or nothing system where the plane dies or it doesn't, which is what we currently have. The health pool system was kind of cool that we have, so you can slowly damage the plane over time, and that would prevent the perma-spotting. You know, it's and plus the destroyer might just feel, oh hey, I need to go back to the teammate or something else like that, or maybe I need extra assistance, or maybe destroyer can have a limited increased damage but not panic effect attack, or there's a number of ways you can experiment with it. I'm sure WarGaming has experimented and not shown it to us, but ultimately it is a problem, but there are probably other ways of dealing with it that aren't a complete overhaul. But I'm guessing if WarGaming's had lots of little things that have built up, they go, oh, you know what, let's just do a complete overhaul and redo the whole thing. So that's maybe somewhere where they're coming from. Still, it bugs me because I feel that, yes, while there are established problems with carrier gameplay and that, not overpowered, but, you know, how something in rock, paper, scissors is a massive hard counter, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to destroy the whole system of gameplay. The problems are, and we'll come back to this, elements like the UI, the interface, things that put people off, not necessarily how the carrier plays. But we'll come back to it. Let's move on, shall we? So, for example, a destroyer can't kill a squadron, whereas a Des Moines with full AA would shoot down all the planes in one go, and that's true. There is no middle ground. Sub-Octavian is perfectly correct in this. You have AA power creep now with the Worcester that can. It doesn't matter how much extra health you put on, doesn't matter how many legendary modules of the midway you put on, when he triggers his defensive fire, everything dies, before you even realise that they're even being shot at sometimes. And they can be very stealthy by turning their AA off and waiting for you to come in closer, then turn their AA on, and then popping defensive fire, then boom, and killing all the plane waves before you even realise what's happened. It's insane. And that's very stressful for a carrier player because they have to be extremely careful. And this goes back to the UI element, that there are hidden AA bubbles which are like 7.2 kilometers or 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers, 8.6 kilometers. These like magic numbers, which are the maximum ranges for certain ships and certain A levels, and that is not known to most people. Again, this is WarGaming's problem. WarGaming has not properly communicated how anti-air works. And the new system they're doing with graphical overlays and puffs of smoke and all that type of stuff for damage, that's fine. Okay, sure, whatever. Yeah, great, fine, awesome. But it doesn't change the fact that the current system, it sucks, because the UI doesn't tell the CV player how close you can get to a particular ship or where his AA overlaps or that type of stuff. So he has to guess, and then if he guesses wrong, or specifically because the planes fly in circles, it might be fine over here, but as it flies around in a circle, because it's not being controlled, it enters the AA bubble, so you have to waypoint it back and forth to make sure it stays outside that AA bubble, but get the maximum closest spotting. So that's kind of frustrating. And he's right, there's no middle ground, and there's no reason to go middle AA. It's either take it all or have absolutely none of it. So that's something that needs to be worked on, but again, this goes back to the previous stuff where it would be better to change the plane into health pools on an individual plane basis or as a full squadron basis, as opposed to having all kill or no kill on the planes. They go into AA, they do their attack, they go out AA, they're at full health unless they got shot down. You know, so that's another way of potentially going at it, but it's kind of irrelevant, but it just seems really dumb that we've gone down this line. We also then have the next point, counterintuitive difference between automatic and manual attack, which work very differently and doesn't imply any smooth skill growth, suggesting a very high bar instead. Well, again, this is WarGaming's fault. They have made a system where the computer will auto-drop for you, and then they have made a system where the manual attack is far more deadly and accurate. In most instances, dive bombers are a complete crap shot. The American HE dive bombers, the RNG element is incredibly tilting. The way that armor-piercing dive bombs work with manual attack, auto attack, and defensive fire panic attack, these are 3 different sizes of bubbles, but in some instances, they're the same. Like, why would I even want to manual attack with certain dive bombers? Because the auto attack is just this, it's just the same reticle, so there's more chance of hitting bombs. So the defensive fire is just the same, so I'm just going to left click on the target. The whole balancing with planes and auto attack and manual drop is stupid. And then another problem is WarGaming's insistence that seal clubbing happening at tier 4 and 5, we must remove alt attacks from aircraft carriers tier 4 and 5. Well, you want to talk about no new players. Well, no reason there's no new players, WarGaming. You shot yourself in the foot when it came to tier 4 and 5. Nobody is learning how carriers properly play until they reach tier 6, and tier 6 is a terrifying tier because that's when everything gets defensive fire. AA ranges can jump up to 7.2 kilometers if they weren't already there, and you can then get matched also into tier 8 games. It's such a skill and difficulty from the protected matchmaking of Zuiho or Bog at tier 5 that can't alt attack, and then you allow double CV games, whereas tier 5 can come across a tier 6 and he gets destroyed because he doesn't have alt attack and the tier 6 does. Plus you have no tutorial system, no guiding, no instructions, nothing about how to use the alt attacks. All you do is have like the scrolling picture screens that nobody ever reads on the launcher. That's your fault, WarGaming. You're at fault to blame this. Yes, it's a problem, and yes, you've acknowledged it, but you can fix this. You bring back alt attacks, you bring back the tutorials. Heck, if you're concerned about seal clubbing, you can reduce the damage that happens at certain tiers, or at 4 and 5 with the alt attacks, the torpedoes, or you can mess around with it, so, but at least introduce them to the game mode before you throw them into the deep water at tier 6. No wonder you've got a low player count if you simply don't hold their hand and guide them into the class and the game. I've made a video about this before, but they're fundamentally different playstyles with and without alt attacks, and that's why they can get punished against more skilled players. Again, WarGaming's fault. The main gameplay doesn't look attractive to most players because its main feature is managed several squadrons on a top-down bird's eye view. In other words, the gameplay is cut off from the main battle and fixed on micromanagement. Well, this is a personal bit of preference. I guess it's correct. You can be on the... Oh, hi Evie. Hello. Oh, hey! I guess that's a personal preference, whether or not you like being on the medium level down, or whether like you like... oh, it's my phone! Oh, don't peel my phone! Let's guess whether or not you like to play a medium view down, or whether or not you like to play on top view down, and you'd like to see the whole map. Oh, you just want to sleep there? Okay. So yeah. It depends whether or not you want to mid-view, zoomed-in view, out view. Yes, you're not seeing as much of the action as you're getting with destroyers, battleships, cruisers. That's a given, and the new game mode totally changes that. I, for a joke, played the Ryujo in Z mode. And Z mode turned out to be pretty cool and fun. And I understand the thinking behind that might get more people to come in and play and mess around. So we'll move on to that. That's personal preference type thing. Moreover, I can get my chair back. Yes! I've been waiting for her to move for ages. Okay. Moreover, there is a big question when it comes to AA defense ships and AA defense sets. If there are not enough aircraft carriers and the player base isn't stable, why spend your modernization skill points to consume as AA defense? No, that's right. And the only reason that you would want to do that... hello? Oh, no, you gotta pee. Pee over there, on the carpet. Pee. She's beating the carpet. I'm wearing toilet rolls. What? You know you're supposed to pee on the puppy mat. Oh my goodness. This is the problem. This is why I'm not streaming, because this would be too disruptive. Okay, let's absorb that while we're doing it. You know you're supposed to pee on the puppy mat. No, don't give me those eyes. You're not supposed to pee on here. Yes. Oh my gosh. Now I understand the meaning of puppy eyes. It's just over there, kind of sulking down on me. Anyway, as we were saying, so you're right, the not of carriers, no reason to take 80 skills, unless of course you division, and if you division with a carrier, then your experience is more enjoyable, but the enemy experience is terrible, because the enemy CV is now playing against an AA ship that creates an AA bubble, so that's a kind of a problem with player numbers and population. But this all goes back to, realistically, the very beginning, and getting people in at the beginning and keeping them in, and then teaching them how to play the carrier properly, as opposed to the later stuff, which is more of a symptom than the cause. You're not going to pee this time, are you? No? Good, right. We'll make this quick. So the issues that have been considered in different period times due to feedback, and we've tried to find a solution to partial changes and upgrades. However, at some point it turned out we needed an integral approach to rebooting. So they want to reboot the CV, and they figured they'll just change it to action game mode. And since it's action game mode based, they're going with this sort of ZN first person style kind of gameplay, which we'll talk about in the following video. And that's kind of cool in its own way. And how it will be and how it will play out. We'll just have to wait and see what that is. Now, they talk about they like to fix the complexity curve of aircraft carriers and requires smooth skill growth. Again, this falls back to WarGaming's inability to create a system where the tier 4 and 5s gradually build you up to tier 6, and then 7 and 8 increase in power and gameplay and firepower. And this, oh, hey, do you want to come up? Come, peek up. Oh, I bumped my head. Oh, there we go. Say hi to the internet, Evie. Oh, you got hiccups. So this comes down to the gameplay. That there's no balance. The American CVs are unbalanced. They don't have the right kind of setup. WarGaming has put themselves into a system where they've locked themselves in with how they do squadron setups and the concept, and they try to make it more easily and more friendly. Oh, you got little hiccups. Oh. You okay? Yes? You do hiccups? Hiccup? Wow, it's the cutest thing ever. Enjoyable gameplay that will be attractive for most players, gives more space for resourcefulness, aircraft carrying its targets, create a balanced and integrated class that will enrich the game without ruining it for others, increase aircraft popularities. Basically, they've seen all these different problems, they've realised they don't have the experience skill to make it work, and maybe they've tried, maybe they haven't had the right expertise, maybe they just figured, you know what, even if we did fix the old system with RTS, it just simply wouldn't be good enough, or people just wouldn't come back to the old system, so we need a complete reboot to lure people in once it's done. So that's kind of where they're at. Anyway, so with that in mind, what are some of the more annoying issues about the existing thing. Well, the UI is buggy. The existing RTS thing lost player numbers because the UI could only accept so many inputs. Yes, they could only accept so many inputs. I couldn't kick on all my planes all at the same time. It was very frustrating. So my muscle memory realized how many inputs I could do per second, and that's what I could click. And that's why I used the keyboard to select my aircraft carrier squadrons. No bite, no bite. That's why I used my aircraft squadrons with the number keys and the keyboards, because the keyboard you could select anything as much quick as you want, but the mouse interactions were limited by the UI. And then it would also get buggy and laggy over time as well. It's true. And we expected those things to be fixed. And issues such as attacking from all directions. You could alt attack 360 degrees. Well, that was flawed in exit strafing. And then the fact that they kept balance issues such as the Saipan or the Enterprise, like the Saipan's ability to exit strafe without losing plane was silly, and this bad balance. So all of these balance issues and gameplay issues and UI issues threw off a whole bunch of people, and it's probably due to WarGaming's incompetence or game engine. It's the game engine just can't support proper inputs, and as a result they figured we can't fix the RTS, so we're going to go down an action game style. That's true, yeah, action game style. That's probably what they're thinking. Still, oh, do you want down? Okay, here we go. There you go. So with the action gameplay sorted and then going down that line, what does that mean for an aircraft carrier main like me? Am I upset? Am I salty? Am I angry? Yeah. I'm as angry as a man with a puppy can be, which is half angry. It's annoying because this is the main way I play the game. This is the main way that I enjoy myself. This is the main way that I make content and spend most of my free time. And they're changing the way it works. Will the action game mode be good? Probably. It'll probably be fun, and I'll probably take part, and I'll probably help out, and I'll see how it goes. And then after the CV rework may or may not be implemented, I'll decide if I'm going to keep on playing or if I want a refund or anything like that. But it's going to happen. Doesn't matter how much I shout, scream, or cajole the devs, it's going to happen. The player numbers are 4% or less, and CV mains that are Unicum like me are extremely rare in the grand scheme of the player base, and they want to have it 10% or higher. So go fish, right? It doesn't matter what I say. But the thing is, I would have gone a different path. I would have fixed the RTS game mode, kept it in, looked at game titles such as Total War Arena, how they're doing their RTS, or just fixed some of the corresponding player skill, retention, tutorial guide, UI elements, the way the tier 4, 5, 6 blend into each other, the balancing between American and Japanese carriers, and then the way the balancing of the armor-piercing dive bomb works. These are all things that should have been balanced first, that may have kept player retention numbers in. I don't feel that there was enough justification on the core gameplay to change to this new alpha setup. But that's where we are. So this is the end of part 1. Part 2, I will, when time permits, maybe not today, another day, we'll go back and we'll have a look at the new action game mode, and I'll give you some feedback. And that video may be delayed because I will be getting access to that game mode early, and I can give you first-hand opinions, what I think, and I can give feedback to the devs. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you've, I know many of you were asking me for a feedback to it. It is what it is. I disagree with the reasons behind it, but one has to accept that it's happening and move on, unfortunately. As much as it deep down really bugs me, like, hey man, this is how I play my game. This is what I do for fun. I've done this for years now. This is what I really, really enjoy, and this is what I've made a little YouTube/streaming thing off of, and you're gonna change it and break it and mess it around? Nah, I'm kind of pissed off. Screw you, WarGaming. But thanks for the free stuff you give me as a community contributor. But I am giving you the middle finger off camera. So, until next time, goodbye.